Number 6.
Sega
Mega Drive.
Yes, the Sega Mega what?
The Sega Mega Drive.
Mega Drive my foot in your ass.
What?
The Sega Megatron?
Huh?
Sega Mega Man.
What?
Sega Mega what are you talking about?
The Sega Mega Drive, Sega's first attempt at a 16-bit system released on August 14th, 1989, and it was a dandy.
Ah, I believe you're talking about the Sega Genesis.
Well, I could be. Explain how.
Alright, well, to better explain, I need to give a little history on Sega. Now, their first system was known as the SG-1000.
Hey, Gooch?
Yeah?
Is that kind of like the T-1000 where it was sent back in time to destroy Sarah Connor, but instead of being Sarah Connor, the SG-1000 was sent back in time to take over the Nintendo Corporation and kill all of its executives and become the greatest video game system of all time?
Okay, wait. Calm down. Take your Ritalin. Quit drinking the coffee. And let me take over, okay?
Douchebag likes coffee.
Yeah, I know.
Douchebag calming down.
Yeah.
Continue.
Thank you, yes. That was their first home console. Their second home console was known as the Sega Master System. It was an 8-bit console similar to the Nintendo. Now, their third home console is the first 16-bit console they came out with, and it was known as the Mega Drive. Except in North America, where they could not secure the right to the name Mega Drive, and they had to rename it Genesis, which, means the beginning.
At the beginning, Gooch, the Genesis cost $190 at launch, giving you the system itself, one controller, and the arcade hit Altered Beast.
Altered Beast kicked ass.
However, Nintendo was still ahead of everybody with its 8-bit masterpiece, the NES, and also giving you the two controllers, the Nintendo Zapper, and the two great games, Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt.
Yeah, now you're sounding like an unprofessional fanboy. Yeah, way to go.
Well, that's because the SG-1000 did not do its job and go back to 1984 to destroy the Nintendo Empire and take over the whole video game universe!
Hey, shut up, dude, shut up. Where the fuck are you getting this from anyway?
Well, Gooch, it's funny you should ask me that,
Well,
because
it's not
it all
funny.
started...
Shut up. I didn't even mean the question. It was rhetorical. It was intended for you to shut the fuck up without me saying shut the fuck up. Now I'm saying shut the fuck up. Please do so. Sit down, be quiet. I'm getting back on topic. Okay. Anyway, the Genesis originally was
Bitch!
It was a bitch for the Genesis to compete with the original NES. Now, the NES was inferior piece of hardware, technically, But it had such a huge library of games, it had such a huge following, that it's tough for any system to compete against it. But the Genesis was a worthy competitor.
Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
You're damn right. That was the slogan until the release of the Super Nintendo.
Then it became Genesis does what Nintendo is doing, which kind of doesn't make any sense. So Sega had to do something quick to save their company, and Gooch, did they do something? It was the biggest move in the whole company's history.
What did they do?
They lowered the price of the Genesis from $190 to $150, $50 cheaper than the Super Nintendo at the time, also launching one of the greatest feuds and greatest rivalries in the video game history, Sega versus Nintendo.
Yes, this is monumental. For those that don't remember, I'm going to try to put this in perspective. This is like Burger King versus McDonald's. This is Tupac versus Biggie. This is Stallone versus Schwarzenegger. This is Pepsi versus fucking Coke. This is like the Hatfields versus the McCoys.
This is Sega versus Nintendo!
That's what we're talking about, damn it.
This is Gooch versus Dooshebag!
What?
You're dead, bitch. This is the SG-1000. I have come back
Damn it,
in
BB.
time to...
I thought we knocked the senses into each other. And all you
Shit.
did was... Damn it. Anyway, back on subject. We're talking about fighting. We're talking about rivalries. Not between me and DB here, but between Sega and Nintendo, the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. We're talking about two mascots going head to head. Of course, we have Nintendo with their very recognizable and infamous Mario. Versus who? Well, we're not talking about Alex Kidd.
Who the fuck is Alex Kidd?
Exactly. He was the mascot for the Master System. We're talking about the Sega Genesis, the Sega Mega Drive. With this system, we saw the birth of a blue, in-your-face, badass mascot. And of course, I am talking about Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, Sonic starred in some of the finest games of the 16-bit era. and the top-selling game for the Sega Genesis, which was Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Yes.
Now, there were other notable games on the Sega Genesis. Those include the Phantasy Star series,
Yep.
Toe Jam and Earl,
Yep.
both Vector Man games,
Yep.
the Golden Axe series,
Yep.
the infamous Mortal Kombat port, which featured a Code for Blood.
ABACABB.
Yeah, you're the only one that remembers that.
Probably so.
Yeah. Anyway, and then we also have Final Fight.
What the fuck did you just say?
Finally, we have Streets of Rage.
That's what I thought you said.
Now, those are a lot of great games on the Sega Genesis, and there are a lot of other great games that we should mention, but we just don't have time.
Let's quickly talk about the changes that the Genesis went through physically throughout its entire lifespan. Now, Gooch, there were 3 major changes that happened to the Genesis, but they were only cosmetic changes.
Yes, there were 3 major revisions done to the Genesis, all of them physical changes. Each change made the system smaller and lighter, so it didn't matter which variation of the Genesis you had, they would all function the same.
Another change that Sega made was to their controller, going from a bulkier, heavier 3-button controller to a smaller, sleeker 6-button controller. And Gooch, if you were a fan of fighting games, this was an absolute must-have.
Yes, the Super Nintendo launched with a 6-button controller standard out of the box. Sega seen this and knew they had to change, and so they came out with a 6-button controller.
Sega at the time was experimenting with a totally new concept that they thought would help players enjoy fighting games called the Sega Activator.
Yeah, the Sega Activator. This giant octagonal-shaped penis ring, it sat in your floor, and it was a controller. But it shot out infrared screen-like beams that you would have to pass through, and it was supposed to interpret your movements in fighting games. All it did was confuse the shit out of people. This thing was not really functional. Thought to be a new martial arts simulator, all it did was piss you off.
The true purpose for the Activator was to be a time portal device for the SG-1000, so it would go and take over the...
Shut up. DB, shut the hell up. This bit is old. People are tired of hearing about it. I'm sick of hearing about it. No more SG-1000.
Well, okay then. Moving on and talking about the add-ons that Sega introduced for the Genesis, and Gooch, did they screw this up in the most terrible way. The first add-on was the Sega CD. It sucked. The second add-on was the Sega 32X. It sucked. Enough said.
Now, these 2 add-ons were not complete garbage. We did get some great games from them, but only a handful. Definitely not worth purchasing both. All they did was leech off the Sega Genesis and extend its shelf life minimally.
So wrapping things up here, the Sega Genesis proved that 2 big powerhouse consoles could survive at the same time. Gooch, we're seeing it now today with actually 3 systems, with the Wii, the 360, and the PS3. Back in the day, it was the Genesis and the Super Nintendo.
Yes, this was a giant rivalry, but rivalry is good. Competition is good. It brings out creativity. And the Genesis made a lot of big innovations, but not so much in hardware, but in business strategy. They showed us that you can redesign your system. They showed us that you can make changes to your controller, that you can take chances on other peripherals and add-ons and be successful, but they also showed that you can fail at the same time.
And that's why the Sega Genesis is the number 6 system of all time on our top 10 greatest home console systems.
Yes, welcome to the next level.
Well, that's it, YouTubers. I'm the Dooshebag.
And I'm the Gooch.
And I'm the SG-1000.
Don't even go there.
Goodbye.